Welcome to Manny Young Manor. My name's Tommy. Today I'm going to share with you a project that I've been working on. I made some faux wax candles out of PVC 2 years ago, and I've been using these little tea lights that I bought at Michael's that take the little watch batteries, and I jammed some foam in there to prop them up. The problem is, like most of you probably already know, you forget to take the batteries out. You have to buy the batteries are expensive. So I said, well, I made some spotlights last year with some of these LEDs here. And I found on eBay a set that have, they're a 5mm flickering LED in amber color to mimic the tea light. So I drilled a hole through the foam I already had in here. Problem is, it didn't look right. It was like, wasn't holding it in the right spot. So I decided to make little plugs. I took a hole saw in with some scrap foam that I had left over that I made some tombstones with. Now I'll be able to put this in the center, dab a little hot glue, keep it there, but I don't want it to be green because it's a huge contrast there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint these white, so that way they disappear a little bit, and probably maybe a muted white, like an antique white. But I still need to paint all of the plugs. I made the plugs, but I still have to do that. So oh, anyway, I was going to show you that. So on Monoprice, it's where I bought these really cheap RCA cables. They're garbage for audio equipment, but for this, they're perfect. So I take one 6-foot, cut it in half, and then solder it. Here I've got some heat shrink, but cut it, and you can see soldering it together. And it doesn't matter what you use for positive and negative, but I used the pin as the positive. You just need to keep it consistent on both ends. And then I threw a little heat shrink on there that I will show you the finished product. So when I'm done, it looks like this. I guess if I wanted to get real fancy, I could have used white, so that way it disappears, but I think the black will be fine. But when you plug it in to your power supply, then you get a nice flickering effect. But they're pretty bright. I set these candles out by my tombstones. There's probably still too much light, but at least you can get kind of proof of concept here. So you have a little tombstone, and you've got your candles. But I think it looks really good out at night. Even though the candles aren't perfect. But perfect doesn't look good in a Halloween display anyway. You guys probably already know that. Show you a better look at this power supply and how I connect all of the RCA cables. But this is an Xbox power supply from an old Xbox 360. I think it's 10 amps. Yeah, 10.83 amps. So at 12 volts. So needless to say, I can run quite a few of these little LEDs off of this thing. So I do want to come up with a better way of terminating them into this box. This is not weatherproof. What I really want to do is get a different connector for this, so that I can actually put this inside a weatherproof box and then have a weatherproof connection and run all my feeds off of that. But this runs my whole haunt out in the yard. I saw this from another YouTuber that created this kind of design with the RCA cables, which I thought was brilliant. I bought a bunch of extra ones off of Monoprice. I wouldn't recommend them for an audio system, but for a temporary, to make sure and test to make sure something works, but the quality of them is really crappy, but it's perfect for this. So I thought I'd show you a little bit more of what's inside this and how I made it. Some of the other videos that I saw online showed the finished product, but didn't go into show you kind of what's inside. There's probably different ways to do this, but as far as make this, this is what I did. So again, I took an Xbox 360 power supply, and then I took a junction box for an electrical outlet and a plate, and then drilled holes in it so that I could put these bare RCA jacks into it. And what I did, I've got, my positive lead here that I soldered on, and then I ran bus wire all the way through and around to the last one. And then my negative, I ran that with some bus wire all the way through here. I threw a little heat shrink on that just in case it ever came in contact with that. Those probably didn't need to do that. And then I found out with the Xbox, when I got a surprise with this model, and I didn't really know what to do, so I had to do some trial and error to get it to work, because every time I terminated it, the little light on the face of the Xbox right here gives you a green light for good, red for bad, and I kept getting a red. But it turned out that all the black gray wires were the negative, the yellows were the positive, and then the red and blue actually needed to be shorted together, wired together, to get this thing to turn on. So it must have been some type of turn-on circuit. I'm not an electrical engineer by any means at all. So, side note, on these PVC candles, it's just 1 3/4 inch PVC that I cut, painted. Well, before I painted them, you literally take your hot glue gun and make squiggly lines all the way down it to make it look like melted wax. From far away, you really can't. It looks really good at night, actually. And then painted it an antique white. I've seen some other YouTubers with their haunts. They've actually carved like some, angles into it, which I might try to add some to mine, but I've got 12 candles now, and for my small yard, that seems to work just fine. If you have any questions, please let me know, and I will answer them. Once again, this is Tommy with Manayunk Manor. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up, and subscribe to my channel for future videos. Thank you for watching. Have a wonderful day.